So I had an interesting experience this last week as I was studying the first three chapters, or the three chapters in 2nd Nephi chapter 3 through 5. And I find that it was really interesting because it created an opportunity for me to understand something with Nephi and how he was a leader. So at the end of chapters 3 through 5, you have that moment in chapter 5, verse 5, where Nephi is warned in a dream that he has to leave because his brothers are about to kill him. And they were about to kill him because they were unwilling to allow him to be their leader. And that got me thinking, what is it that Nephi did that showed that he had leadership qualities? And I asked my boys during our scripture study last night that they should share their thoughts, and it was really interesting. We came up with a couple of different examples of where Nephi was a leader. First and foremost was that moment where he decided not to murmur, and talk about a leadership quality to not complain, not be frustrated with the situation that you're in. The second one was he was willing to sacrifice for the results that he knew he had to follow through with, the commandments that he was given. So Nephi, when he went to get the brass plates, he was willing to give up all of their household goods so that they could obtain them. He was willing to sacrifice his own comfort to go and find food in the wilderness. And he was willing to sacrifice his pride when he asked for help to build the ship and to learn about the vision of the tree of life. So all three of those things or all of those things are good examples of that. And you'll see that those are the stories that we looked at as we identified these leadership traits. The next one came up with my wife as she was talking about the fact that when Nephi came back, she was complaining about her sons having perished in the wilderness trying to get the plates. And then also the moment when they were on the ship and Nephi was bound by his brothers. And both examples show that Sariah really had a difficult time with this. And my wife pointed out that maybe Nephi as a leader was allowed or gave a lot of comfort to those that were willing to follow, but they didn't necessarily have their own personal testimony, or they needed an experience to allow them to have their own personal testimony. And this came up when Nephi goes to his father, and this is another example of this. He goes to his father, even though his father is murmuring and complaining that they don't have food. He goes to his father and he asks for additional help and advice to obtain food in the wilderness. Another principle that we gleaned from all of this is Nephi was visionary. He was not afraid to ask the Lord for help, even when he didn't know, and he was willing to act even if he didn't have the complete answer in front of him. So a very stark contrast to his brothers when they tried to get the plates of brass. But it also happened in other areas where he didn't know where to obtain food in the wilderness. He didn't know how to build a ship. He didn't know what the abilities were, or the thoughts were for the division of the tree of life. And we came up with the idea that Nephi, he demonstrated the leadership quality of humility and being willing to ask someone that knows more than him about the visions and the things that he needed to learn more. And a leadership quality that we saw from that was that Nephi was willing to acknowledge that he did not know everything. And we had a really great discussion on that, about how important it is to find leaders that are willing to humbly ask those that know more, or even God that can give divine intervention, the inspiration that you need in order to understand the world about you. So anyway, those are some thoughts that we had as we discussed the leadership qualities that Nephi presented as we were together last night in the car. So thanks, guys. If you want to learn more, you want to become part of this journey, feel free to subscribe. But this is just my journey on learning more and being a more in-depth student of the Book of Mormon.